Oh my God. I'm terrified. I'm
What's
scared.
up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Coffee Shop Sports, our last episode before Halloween. Kev, my beautiful co-host, is here with
Oh,
me again this morning. I'm Zach,
dude.
other host of Coffee Shop Sports. How you doing, man?
No, I'm touched that you called me beautiful on the podcast. Back at you, man. I'm so excited, man. I feel like, we're on YouTube now, which is so awesome. So we have to be very conscious about picking our noses and, all that kind of fun stuff that we do on the pod.
Arguably
Um,
might do it more.
that too. Yeah, we could also just do that. I'm down. I can't just sneak like little snacks. That's always been one of my favorite things to do on our show. I guess I could technically, and then the
No
viewers
reason
could
not
just,
to.
yeah, the viewers just call me out. Call me out in the comments. Timestamp it like this mother effer's eating, cashews at the 13-minute mark. But I'm so excited for like a scary episode today, dude. Like I've been scared personally by the play of my favorite sports team, so there's a lot of scary stuff to talk about today, and it's going to be a great episode for sure.
A lot of scary stuff in the month of October for sure. And you know what's funny is like I hate scary things,
You
and you
do.
know that.
You do.
I
Zach
refuse.
doesn't watch horror movies. I've
No,
just realized we're talking through all of like my favorite horror movies last week. We're doing like these, I'm making these references, and I'm like, this is deaf ears right now. This man does not know what I'm talking about.
I've seen the original Scream, so we talked about that
Okay.
one.
Okay. Proud of you.
And I've seen a lot of the Saw movies because I don't mind gore.
That's such a
As
weird, that is such a weird line to draw. Like, oh no, I won't watch like Halloween where like a guy in a mask like kills babysitters, but I will watch
yeah,
people saw their arms off though. I
we
love
know what
that.
it is. It's just the jump scare versus
Yeah.
like Saw is just like, oh, can you handle blood? And like I'm fine with blood. I've
Yeah.
played my share of violent video
Really,
games. I'm
really quick,
cool.
this is a total sidebar, and we're absolutely being so unprofessional to our dedicated sports fan audience. But do you think of Saw in any way? I was having this debate yesterday. Do you think of Saw in any way as a psychological thriller?
I mean,
Or
yeah,
or
sure,
I
yeah.
think so
That's
too.
like the whole. I feel like that's the whole purpose of it.
I think so too. And I was getting argued with. They were like, "Oh, it's actually body horror. It's a whole genre."
That
So
too, yeah. Body horror for sure.
but, like, I
Yeah,
was saying that, like, I feel like body horror is you're afraid of things happening, like somebody cutting your arm off. What makes Saw psychological is you have to cut your own arm off, right? Like, I feel like that's
it's a little bit of both.
eh,
Yeah.
yeah, it's I mean, I'm glad that you at least see where I'm coming from. I mean, this person I was debating with was dense.
No, I do. I do think some of the Saw movies do it with the psychological bit better than the others. But that's really like my line. I've
The
seen a
original
couple
is the
horror
GOAT.
movies, but like most of them, I don't have. None of them I want to watch again. I'll
Yeah,
just like say that for sure.
I will say it's below action, comedy, and drama for me. But I do love a good horror movie, and unfortunately, the family that has adopted me, it's their favorite genre. So I am, for lack of a better term, balls deep in horror all the time.
Yeah, yeah, you're into the horror crew now.
Big time.
I keep my space from that part. You know
Big
what I
time.
do love though? Did you ever see the movie The Babysitter on Netflix?
Oh yeah, brilliant film. So
Yeah,
over
that's
the
great.
top, so
Yeah,
satirical. Yeah, fire.
fantastic. Not
Fire
really a
movie.
horror movie, more of like a
No.
comedy slasher.
Yeah,
But
but quite good though. Quite
I love
enjoyable.
that one.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good call.
Well, we're here for sports. Hopefully, anybody listening is here for sports. If not, you know,
We'll
check out a different
yeah,
podcast.
we'll talk
Probably.
about movies,
We'll talk
from
about
time to
movies from
time.
time to time.
Yeah, we're we're cultured.
So continuing with the spooky intro, we've got our first sip segment this week, which is spooky for a different reason, and it's teams' panic level, the scare meter.
Yeah.
How are we feeling about
Scare
certain
meter.
teams? There are some big losses this last week, some surprising losses,
I
including
can't think
last
of one.
night's
I can't think of a single one. So
including last night's Monday Night Football. So first sip, we're just gonna go through a couple teams, and you're gonna give me your scare meter level, 1 to 10, how you feeling and why.
yeah.
And let's start off with your hometown team, Buffalo Bills losing to Bill Belichick's 300th win.
Yep.
That game got out of hand quickly, and
Yeah.
despite the resurgence from the Bills, Patriots resurged too. They did
Yeah.
not. It was not a get up early and hold out to the end game. How you feeling?
Yeah, man, it's really tough. I will say I'm no stranger to adversity, especially being a Bills fan growing up in the drought era. So it's kind of like old hat for me. But also that being said, these teams, these successful, dominant, Super Bowl window, underperforming Bills teams, they do this every year. And it's kind of funny because I don't know if people forget or if I just have a different perspective because I'm riding the tip of the wave at all times. But um, you know, 2020, Hail Murray, big loss. They come back, they don't lose another game the rest of the season. 2021, Zach, believe it or not, they rotated wins and losses for 5 weeks in a row before dropping two straight, culminating in losing to Urban Meyer's Jaguars. I will never forget that game. I will never forget that feeling. 7-6 after losing to Tampa Bay in overtime, out of the playoff picture with 4 weeks to go. Win out, win the division. Last year, it wasn't as bad. For some reason, last year, even though it was the year with the most tumult, they just didn't really drop a ton of games. They ended up going 13-3. Um, Most adversity they've ever faced, though. And the offense hit a lot of lows. Last year's Bills team probably would have won the games against the Patriots and the Jaguars because as we saw, they did come back and put up a huge fight in those games. I at first, like my simple caveman Neanderthal brain was like, I hate Ken Dorsey and it's all his fault. But after watching some film, after doing some research, I've come to the conclusion that it's a lot more of an execution thing than it is a Ken Dorsey thing. And to be honest with you, Zach, I hate to say this because he's my boy, but Sean McDermott does not have his guys ready to play. And I don't know if it's because he's inherited defensive play calling and he's taking care of the defense a lot more. I don't know if it's, I know Josh isn't perfect either. That's another thing that's been emerging. I'm accepting that. He's been having some, accuracy issues with his sprained AC joint and his throwing shoulder. I'm hoping that just evens out. I mean, he's a warrior, man. You know that. So, my panic meter, the defensive health is terrible. My level on the scare meter is maybe a little more measured than it might have been had you talked to me right after the game. But it's not low. And I would say that it's borderline, not medium. I'm going to go with a 6. Um, and I think you actually pointed out to me that the loss by the Dolphins is helpful. It mitigates the scare meter a little bit. Um,
Definitely.
but I'm at a 6 because I do believe there's time to right the ship. I do believe they have the horses to do it. The banged up defense, man. Mac Jones looked like Peyton Manning. I don't want to see that ever again. That made me sick. That made me nauseous. Honestly, I can't stomach that.
Yeah, I'm probably just slightly higher than you. I told you I was a 7.5 after the game. 8 if the Dolphins won. They didn't. I'm not super concerned about Josh Allen and really the offense, but the defense is unquestionably banged up. I mean, Tre'Davious White, injured reserve. Matt Milano, injured reserve. Daquan Jones, injured reserve. Jordan Phillips, questionable. Ed Oliver's now questionable
They missed
post
last
game.
week. Yeah.
And Dawson Knox had surgery on his wrist, so he's out for the foreseeable future.
Tough.
They have Dalton Kincaid, but it's unquestionable. Knox is a big part of the offense, especially when it comes to blocking. They play a lot of 2 tight end sets now. We may see them go back to 3 wide receiver sets more often with Knox out.
Yeah.
Which interesting, but they've been playing 2 tight end sets predominantly, so a lot of injuries. And I think that rises my panic meter more than most. Like you said, they made the Patriots offense look good for the first time this season. That's hard to do.
Gross.
So I have some concerns that they can hold up throughout a season without a lot of their star players.
Yeah, and I think you make a lot of great points. Knox with the wrist, it sucks. I love Dawson Knox. He's very, very much woven into the fabric of this team, not just from a X's and O standpoint, but from a character standpoint, from a locker room standpoint. So that's a big loss. I will say the Bills have 7 drives in the last 2 weeks in the second half, and against the Giants, they were 2 for 3 scoring touchdowns. The one that they didn't score a touchdown on, 3rd and 7, Dawson Knox drops a huge pass. Last week against the Patriots, touchdown, touchdown, 4th and 2, Dawson Knox drops a huge pass. They scored 2 touchdowns after that, and then their last possession or they scored a touchdown after that, and then their last possession. So 6 of 7, I should have said, or 6 of 8. But their last possession was 12 seconds left and didn't really matter. So yeah, I love Dawson Knox as much as the next guy. You know that. But this the wrist injury might have been playing a bigger role in those drops than we knew. Um, so I am, because he has been battling it, but I am happy to see him getting the help he needs if that's what's gonna prevent those drops from happening, because those were egregious. Those both could have been not necessarily game enders. Well, the Giants one was literally a game ender, but the Patriots one would have made the Bills' lives a lot easier. Um, they did have to
Yeah,
end up, yeah,
drops are tough, and that's like a. I mean, that's the whole thing. Players drop passes, and he's dropped more than a lot in the fair. But I don't think that's what he. I don't think his receiving prowess was the best thing he brought to
you're
the
right.
Bills.
I
It
would
was
agree
his
with that.
blocking for
Yeah,
sure, and the
yeah,
scheme that he brought to it, the level of having a solid, reliable pass catcher, which he has been as well.
for
Drops
sure.
aside, like he's caught a
Yeah,
lot of third down, and he's a good blocker. So they'll miss
yeah,
that regardless. Like he's an above average tight end when it comes to blocking.
yeah,
So, and we saw at the beginning of the year the Bills were trying to establish the run more.
yeah,
Kind of went back away from that the last couple games. Maybe we see that come back. James Cook a little more.
yeah.
Losing Damian Harris again,
Tough.
more injured players.
Murray
He,
helps me sort of feel better about losing Harris, though. Murray's been good.
hey, he's been fine.
Yeah,
I just worry injuries are going to catch up to this team. But
yeah,
we got other teams too
for sure.
on the panic level, on the scare meter.
The scare meter.
Let's hold off on talking Cowboys because they were on the bye this week.
They're good. Yeah, we don't need to talk about the Cowboys and the Bengals. We can skip them. They'll be all right.
Yeah, no bye week teams on our
Yeah,
show today. So
yeah.
let's go to last night's losers of Monday Night Football.
I'm gonna let
San
you lead off
Francisco
on that one
49ers.
since your Vikings whooped that ass.
It was a good game.
It
I
was.
had a good time watching it. Not just from the Vikings winning. Happy mixed feelings about them winning that game.
Right.
But 49ers now dropped 2 games in a row, 5-2 on the season, after being considered the juggernaut of the NFL at 5-0. And they looked unbeatable, and then they dropped 2 games against teams they probably should have beat. So panic level, scare meter on the 49ers, man, is still pretty low for me. I don't know. I can't wrap my head around being that scared for them. I was scared last night when Fred Warner went down with an apparent injury, because then I was like, okay, yeah, now scare meters back up. But he got back on the field. Deebo Samuel will get back healthy. Losing Trent Williams for this game, he was out, is just such a detriment to this team. It's insane. The run game with and without him is night and day. When you look at clips, it's almost an entire yard, over a yard per carry difference in the run game when he's healthy. And that's the lifeblood of this team, is the run game. Christian McCaffrey has the oblique injury. He wasn't fully healthy, still had a great game. And then Deebo Samuel out. None of these guys are out for the long term. They should all be back soon. Their defense is still great. Their offense is still great. They lost this game because I felt like their head wasn't really in it. You have the early fumble by McCaffrey, such a rare sight to see. When that play happened and I saw him lose the ball, it was like almost shocking, because I was like, oh, I don't remember the last time I've seen Christian McCaffrey turn over the
Yeah.
ball like that.
It was
And
weird.
he almost got it back too. If you
Yeah.
like, you look at the play, he reaches, grabs it, and his
And the
offensive
Niners
lineman,
should have got it back. They had a guy
he
send
hits
it.
it out of his hand.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was bad.
Crazy.
Yeah.
But it was silly mistakes. Hero ball by Purdy to lose the game at the end. That was a real questionable throw. He could have ran, picked up 6-7 yards, wanted to be the hero in the game. I get that. Purdy did not have his best game. He's been questionable under the blitz all year. The Vikings bring the blitz more than any other team. Usually they're not very effective when they do, but they were getting some pressure on Purdy near the end there, and it just caused for kind of a questionable game. They couldn't capitalize on the things. The Vikings were just running it on third down. I don't know. I'm pretty low. I say I'm a 4 overall. I think they can right the ship pretty quickly and still be that elite team. But if teams are getting to Purdy on the blitz, it's going to be a problem.
Yeah. No, I like where your head is at. I think a 4 is a good number. I'm only slightly higher than you. and only because of the teams that they lost to, not unsimilar to my Bills. These are teams that they should be relative. I mean, beating up on. Let's be frank. I mean, they played a third string quarterback in PJ Walker, and uh, a Vikings team that was 2-4. Who they always last year they were worse than their record said. This year they're better than their record said. They're such a weird, like, fluky one score. I was going to bring this up when we talked about the Bills, but the margins in the NFL are so razor thin, Zach. The difference between being great and being bad is so thin. If a couple phantom calls in Buffalo's losses go the other way, they're in first place and nobody's talking about any of the stuff that they're talking about. It's the same with the 49ers. We wouldn't talk about Brock Purdy against the blitz if Brock Purdy didn't, throw that pass away at the end of the game. You're right. If he led a game-winning drive, we're talking about how great he is and how he's AI and how he's changing the quarterback position. But that's the NFL, man. That's what you live and die with. I personally, I've always been higher than consensus on Purdy. I've actually always faded the narrative that he wasn't special, and we've actually talked about it on the show a lot. And I think he is special, but I think he's starting to show some cracks. I think just like with everybody, the book, they say the book is out on them. I think we're starting to see the book on Purdy is not unlike the book on anybody. Just get in his head, just rattle him a little bit, and he gets a little crazy. He had some happy feet last night. And at some points that worked in his favor. I didn't know he was that fast. What the hell? He could
Zoom.
dart. He could dart,
Yeah.
man. But that's okay. 5. I think they'll right the ship naturally, just like I think Buffalo will. I think I'm lower than Buffalo because it's only 2 losses, and I think they still have enough of a cushion on the rest of their competition that they'll right the ship, and it won't even matter because they haven't dropped any games until these games that they should have won, so they have a little more wiggle room, I think. So I'm still very in on SF.
Yeah, and you brought up a good point. I tell people this all the time when they're like NFL fans is, like you said, the margins are so thin. The best team in the NFL on a bad day can lose to the worst team in the NFL having a good day. Like it's very possible.
Yeah.
And for what it's worth, I don't think the Browns are a bad team. I think they're
not
are a good team and maybe the best defense in the NFL.
Yeah. Well, maybe not after giving him 38 to Gardner, but yeah, good defense.
I still think after that game, I mean, I came away thinking Myles Garrett is a runner for MVP. He deserves to be.
Yeah, he's got to be in the conversation right now. Yeah.
And the first half was rough for that team offensively, and Deshaun Watson didn't do them any favors. But I still think they have the best defense in the NFL right now.
He sucks ass.
It's hard to watch out there.
Oh my god, dude! Those picks. I mean, whatever. Maybe he's not healthy, but man,
pick. He only threw one.
Oh, you're right. The second one was called back. It was bad.
Yep.
Watch the penalty.
Bad
that
pass.
That one was worse. No, so I'm just kind of sitting here thinking, like, look, okay, really quick, we're on the scare meter, right? So we're both at I'm at a 5, you're at a 4 for SF, you're at a 7, I'm at a 6 for Buffalo. What are your thoughts on the scare meter of Deshaun returning and sinking the Browns, which he has, and Daniel Jones returning and sinking the Giants, which he will?
I'm more concerned about Daniel Jones and the Giants than I am.
Yeah.
Because we saw some good games from Deshaun Watson at the beginning of the season. It wasn't all bad. His first game was rough, and then he looked okay the next 2 games, and then he's had this like weird shoulder injury that's been like lingering / he probably shouldn't have been playing. It seems
he's
pretty apparent.
Medically cleared from it, but
yeah, because you're looking at him go throw the ball and then look at his face, and he's like, that is not where that ball should have gone. Yeah. So concerned with the shoulder injury, obviously concerned that his contract is fat. But I have confidence that he could be at least a league average quarterback, which is not what you paid for, but it's better than what I think about Daniel Jones, which is that he's 1, not good, and 2, gonna get destroyed behind that offensive line.
Yeah, he's been looking objectively bad, and
Tyrod
looks good, and that's
and it's not that different of a team. The team didn't just magically change.
Yeah, I've always believed Tyrod was at least an average player and maybe possibly slightly above average. And with a good supporting cast, we've seen what he can do. He can lead teams to the playoffs. So I think Dable, I know the money, and it's in both situations. I know the money
Yeah.
is in the wrong spot right now, but what are you gonna do? Like sunk cost, are you gonna continue to pay the piper and continue to trot out
Of
inferior
course.
players?
Yeah.
I mean,
You will.
yeah, they are,
Yeah.
right? Both teams are.
They will 100%.
I'm at a 7 that Jones is gonna sink the Giants' progress, and I'm at a 6 that Deshaun will. I don't think PJ Walker is worse than Deshaun Watson right now.
No, I think right now PJ Walker can win them games
I
enough to
think so
get
too.
Deshaun healthy. I'm
Yep.
lower. I think the Browns team is good enough that they can mask a lot of offensive woes. I'm probably at a 3 with the Watson situation. I do think a lot of the criticism is obviously because he's a dirtbag,
He's a bad
and
person, yeah.
like it's easy to hate on him
Yeah,
because
100%.
he arguably shouldn't be in the NFL still.
Yeah, I'll sign my name on any anti Deshaun Watson stuff any day.
But
But that being said,
putting that bag
yeah,
aside, his
yeah.
play earlier in the season was not atrocious. It was good enough for what they're doing, and with room to get better.
I'll give you that. I mean, at times I thought it looked atrocious, but he did have at times where he was,
It's not Daniel Jones bad.
No,
Like,
you're
let's
right.
be
You're
honest.
right.
It's
No,
not.
Daniel Jones
It's
has
not to
been
that level.
absolutely awful. Okay,
Like in
Zach,
a vacuum, easily.
we have one more scare meter team, and
Ooh, breaking news though,
what you got for me?
which was gonna come into the show later today,
Oh,
but Zach Ertz is being placed on IR.
oh, I wonder where that's going to come into the show later today. Maybe it'll in our basketball segment. Maybe
Yeah, sure. Zach Ertz in our basketball.
our
segment.
first basketball segment in 3 months. Zach, what's your temperature? I'll let you kick this one off too, because I have a feeling that I'm gonna just come in guns blazing on the basketball talk. So I'm gonna let you take the lead on this one. What's your temperature on my most hated? And I say that in jest. I actually like this player quite a lot. I just don't think he's the guy people tell me he is. What's your temperature on these LA Chargers, man, and Justin Herbert? 2-4.
My temperature on Justin Herbert itself is fine. I think he's been playing great. In that Chiefs game, I think he was looking way better. Sailed an end zone pass to Keenan Allen, which
Does
was
it every
brutal.
game. He's been doing
We've
that
seen a
every
lot
game.
from that.
Yeah,
His
agree.
accuracy has been questionable.
In big spots too. That's the problem.
He does just love to end games on turnovers.
It's so bad.
Like,
It's so, yeah.
that's huge.
It's inexcusable, man. And it's like I love what I see. I love those highlight plays. He's got him and Josh Allen and Mahomes are the three greatest armed quarterbacks maybe we've ever seen. They're the big three of howitzers in the NFL, and I love watching Justin Herbert play. But I look at the box score and I look at the final score, and I'm like, is this your king?
It's just his team's not doing him any favors. It's almost reminiscent of the entire 10-year career there of Phillip Rivers, where
Yeah.
they're gonna, at the rate they're going, they're throwing away Justin Herbert's career, and they're not doing him any favors on play calling. The run scheme has been interesting from Kellen Moore.
Yeah, so Kellen Moore, yeah, everybody thought he was a savior.
I don't think he's the creative guy that people that he showed for that 1 or 2 years in Dallas, and I think Dallas saw that too, which is why it was kind of like, okay, get out of here, sure. Keenan Allen, great. Their first round
good.
pick, Quentin Johnson, just not involved and not getting separation, so
Yeah.
maybe shouldn't be involved. Josh Palmer's looking fine.
He looks great. Yeah, he has a
Austin
great game.
Eckler, I don't know why they're not throwing him the ball. That's
Yeah.
his best attribute, and they're using him as
Is he fully back, do you think?
I think he's healthy. High ankle sprains usually take a ramp up period of 1 to 3 weeks to come
Okay.
back to full strength.
Okay.
So we'll probably see that next week against Chicago. I'm sure he'll look
Yeah.
fully healthy.
Yeah.
A lot of people look fully healthy against Chicago's run defense. But they're not doing him any favors.
Yeah.
His play calling is interesting, and he's not going through his progressions like we saw he did last year.
Yeah.
There are a couple plays where his first read is covered. He won't check down to Eckler, which is a huge flaw in this offense, I think. We're not seeing...
No.
He's one of the best receiving backs in the NFL, and they're
Right.
not utilizing him at all. They're playing him like Marshawn Lynch, and he's not Marshawn Lynch.
Oh, yeah, they're
So
banging
don't-
him in there. Yeah,
Don't run the ball like that.
not good.
His team's not doing him any favors. he's not doing himself any favors, missing some wide open passes. I worry as long as the infrastructure of the Chargers is the way it is, we won't get to see peak Justin Herbert. I think the next 3 weeks, you're going to see peak Justin Herbert, though, because some cakewalk matchups coming up.
Yeah, I don't know about that. 3
Well,
weeks.
they got the Jets defense, right?
Yeah, that's good
Coming up.
defense.
That's a tough one.
I think the
but then what,
Lions defense.
Chicago,
Lions defense is pretty good too.
they just got
They did.
shredded.
They did just get shredded.
Absolutely
But they
deceased.
I don't know, but the sample size says that they're a good defense.
Their run defense is probably top 5 in the NFL, but their pass defense has been subpar all year. That's the Justin Herbert.
Do you think Jay Herbo is going to dominate the Lions and the Bears? Obviously, he's going to dominate the Bears. That's a get right game if I ever.
No.
Yeah, it'll. I think you go 2-3 in those games, 2-1 in those games, which, I mean, Zach, we can agree that they should win them all, right? We can agree that they should win all those games, right?
I still like Detroit a lot. The real, it's just tough in LA right now for the Chargers. Their pass defense is getting just absolutely destroyed.
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes had 300 yards in the first half. This team is just not set up to win.
So they're 2-4, and I'm gonna give my scare meter. I didn't get a number from you. Do you want to give me a number?
I'm probably less concerned than the Bills just because of expectations.
So you're
after starting like 1-3, I felt like they weren't. You already lost the this is a Super Bowl contending team in the first 4 weeks.
The shine is already off for you, so you're not really. You're thinking Buffalo. They got to fight to save the shine. You're thinking
Buffalo
Chargers,
Super Bowl or bust. Chargers is just Chargers, what is the future?
Can't come back. Yeah. Okay.
I'm gonna say 5 for me. I'm like right in the middle of the pack. I would expect Staley not to last after this year if they don't have a winning record, and
so admittedly though a sliding scale. Admittedly a sliding scale. You slid the scale. Like if we were using the same expectations as the Bills and Niners,
if you're talking like Super Bowl contender, yeah, it's not happening.
So
it's all the way up.
It would be a 10 theoretically. I was thinking my scale's the same. I haven't changed it for Bills, Niners, or Chargers. And I'm sitting at a 6, a 5, and I'm going to give the Chargers a 9 on that same scale because the run that they'll have to go on, if they don't win the next 3 and set themselves up at 5-4 with a stretch run where they still have some really tough matchups on the other end, but they can though. That's the thing. And
they're still a good team.
I always say it. If you're a top 5 QB, then show us. Like, go be a top 5 QB. Like, top 5 QBs win games when they're supposed to win games. They get and they might not. Top 1 QBs get their team to the Super Bowl and win it. We've seen it with one guy consistently. But top 5 QBs, you got to at least make it to the dance. You got to at least win a playoff game, right? And the Chargers. I know Brandon Staley sucks. I'm the first person to say that, and I can't wait to see Justin Herbert without him. I can't wait. And I don't mean to be rude. Like it is a man. It is his job. It is his life. But he's not the guy for that job. He might go be a fine OC somewhere in a couple of years. Maybe he'll move to Thailand and hang out with Cliff.
To point out, he is a defensive coach.
Oh, that's what coach. Well, but the whole analytics thing. I mean, I've always thought of him as like.
Yeah. But I was just saying, like he'd be.
No, 100%. Yeah, you're right. You're right. So let's see what happens, Zach. But I'm less and less confident every day that the Chargers are going to make any sort of noise this year.
Yeah, my concern is the Chargers team as a whole is higher than my concern for Justin Herbert. I don't think he's even remotely bad. I still think he's playing as a great quarterback. So
you're starting a franchise tomorrow. You're taking Herbert in the top 7 picks for sure. So
easily.
Yeah. We should totally do that. That would be a really fun segment. We should do like a fantasy draft.
Let's move on. We're probably about halfway through the episode already.
Yes, sir. We crushed the scare meter. I'm terrified right now. Coming into the NBA chat.
So yeah, we got NBA coming up, which is great. I'm a little overwhelmed by the fact of another sport starting, but
it's beautiful.
It's also exciting at the same time. The landscape of the NBA is so different this year. Damian Lillard moving to the Bucks. You have the Suns with a completely different team and no bench. You got the Celtics making some huge splashes. So what are you looking for this NBA season? Just give us a little preview. Kind
Yeah,
of what are you
man.
excited for in the first week of slate? What are you
Oh,
thinking?
dude, the first week has so many good games. We're starting off so tonight, actually, Zach. I don't know if it will have aired by the time that we're doing this episode, but tonight we have Phoenix taking on the Warriors, which should be really exciting because Chris Paul is the newly minted Warriors starting whatever because they're like, oh, he's going to start, but we are also starting Steph Curry and Chris Paul
And
and
Clay.
Clay. So it's like, and Andrew Wiggins. So it's going to be a really weird starting five. But I think it'll be fun to watch Chris Paul against his former team. That's probably the matchup today that I'm the most excited by. We have Nuggets Lakers to tip the whole season off, which LeBron versus Jokic. I mean, Jokic was such a dog in the finals last year. He is such a special player, man. Like we talked about him on the show, establishing his legacy as, not GOAT conversation, but like
Like a Hall of
entering
Fame
entering
candidate.
the all-time
Yep.
conversation for sure. You got that I don't think that matchup will be as fun to watch as Phoenix Warriors just because I love Devin Booker. I love that. I think he's so underrated. I know he gets a lot of shine. I know he's on the cover of 2K, but he gets dogged on more than almost any other basketball player. Like I think other than LeBron, he might take the second most amount of crap. But if you watch him play basketball, he's an absolute warrior, Zach. He makes buckets, he plays defense, he does the things that puts his team in position to win the game.
I see Booker as like a slightly lesser version of Jason Tatum, where
Similar. I rank them
he
similarly.
yeah, where he was expected to be the guy, the leader, the new one for his team,
Yeah.
and has got so close, but doesn't have that like last little bit. Like he's not the big guy to do it, and that's kind of how I've been seeing Tatum the last 2 years, because
Yeah.
of the playoff exits. They're
Yeah.
both phenomenal players, but I don't know if they're the big guy. And now they've brought in someone to be the big guy there in Phoenix.
Yeah. I mean, look, the KD trade was huge and it really changed the landscape of the NBA. I think Phoenix should have been more competitive down the stretch last year. I was very disappointed to see them fizzle out the way that they did. You're looking at a starting five of Beal, Book, KD, Nurkic, and then I'm not quite sure who they're rotating in as the five. Sean Taylor, one of our regular listeners, is going to kill me, but the team is solid. They're for sure better this year from a, like you said, top end standpoint, but that bench will be questioned. I had my buddy Sean, who's a huge Suns fan, try to sell me on Watanabe. He's like, dude, it's all good. We got Watanabe, dude. It's all good. We're gonna be great. And I'm like, dude, you sound like me talking about Gabe Davis. Like, don't do it, man. Like it's okay to admit that there's no depth. It's okay. A lot of great teams don't have depth.
Well, let's talk about the other. We've got two other candidates that have made massive trades, but I'll start off with the Celtics. I am
Yeah.
a Celtics fan, technically. Celtics and Nuggets, born in Colorado, but always been a Celtics fan. Went out, made a big old trade, got Drew Holiday at point guard.
Got
Gave up quite a
KP
bit to do it.
a couple weeks prior too.
Yeah, Kristaps Porzingis earlier
Yeah.
in the offseason. Got rid of the Time Lord himself,
Tough.
their center, which hurt me a little bit.
Love him.
But they've still got 37-year-old Al Horford, so who cares?
They'll be good. They got rocking chair.
Yeah, I mean, this team, as expectations every year, obviously being one of the biggest franchises, couldn't make it to the finals last year, couldn't make it to the finals the year before, getting knocked out by teams that arguably they should have beat. I think they should have beat the Bulls. I'm sorry, why did I say the Bulls? The Heat.
Yeah.
They should have beat the Heat last year, in my opinion. They were a better team. They weren't the better team, but they had the better players, and they just choked it away.
Yeah.
I think the Celtics Nuggets would have been a great matchup. You add Drew Holiday, who's basically just Marcus Smart on roids.
Literally.
I mean, similar players, right? You have a point guard, an incredible defensive player, except Drew Holiday is a much better offensive player and teammate, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You've got Porzingis playing center, which how many games do you get out of him? If you get a
Big
lot of
question.
games, this team is a finals contender. If you get
Yeah.
10 games and then he's hurt, they're not.
Yeah.
So I do worry a little bit about the size of the roster. I know we're in an NBA league where it's no longer big man ball. Centers have been devalued consistently, other than Nikola Jokic.
Yeah.
But losing Robert Williams, who was a promising young player, and switching it for Chris Voss is a little risky, in my opinion. But I
Yeah,
do
but
think this team is better than they were last year.
I agree. And I think you talk about size, right? I mean, Time Lord played big, but he was 6'8".
He was
And
not that big.
Chris
Yeah,
Stapps plays small and he's 7'3". So,
7'2". Yeah,
it's all good. I mean, I think they'll be okay. I think so. Bringing it full circle, right? We talked about matchups week 1. You talked about your Celtics. I'll talk about my Knicks because they play tomorrow night, Zach. And let me tell you, I got a Jalen Brunson jersey the week they got sent home from the playoffs last year. I was like, it's time. I'm gonna invest in a Knicks player jersey. I got a Jalen Brunson jersey, and it came in the mail a day after they got sent home. So I have not worn it yet. It's been sitting in my closet waiting for tomorrow. I'm very excited for that game. I think it's going to be a very exciting game. I absolutely think, with all due respect to the Celtics, I think the Knicks had the Celtics number last year. It's a totally different Celtics team. Drew Holiday scares the pants off of me. Normally, I'd pick the Knicks, but I do believe that the Celtics did enough in the offseason to juice up that big five. So I think I'm gonna pick the Celtics to win that game. Don't tell Enzo. Don't tell Roxanne. I'm just gonna sweep it under the rug. If they hear this, then congrats on the dub. But that being said, I like what the Knicks have done. I do think they'll be there when the chips are down in the East. I think they'll probably be a top 4 or 5 team in the East, and I think I think they'll compete. I don't know. The Bucks got better. Um, the Heat didn't really get better, but they're still the Heat, and they have My Chemical Romance, Jimmy Butler now, which is big for them. And then we also have the Celtics. So I think it'll be really, really fun to watch. Zach. That's all I'm saying. I just can't wait to see it all play out.
I'm excited. We get to find out what the Celtics roster looks like. Obviously, their 6 man Malcolm Brogdon is gone, so
Yep,
we're
six
going
man
to
of the
see what
year.
their 6 man of the year. We're going to see what that rotation looks like. You'll need someone else to step up.
Yeah,
Pritchard is there. Derek White is still there.
I like Derek White. I don't love Pritchard. I think he's kind of a spot up guy, kind of a mop up guy. But
There's a lot of people expecting a leap from him this year. The Celtics
it would be
organization is
cool.
happy. It would be good to
It would
see.
be cool to see. It would be great for them. I mean, dude, if Pritchard takes a step forward, they'd be set.
Sam Hauser too, also another
Yeah.
name that's there. They'll need someone else to
Yeah.
step up to fill
You
that
say Sam
Malcolm
Hauser, and
Brogdon role.
I hear what I heard from Sean talking about Watanabe, but it's all good. Look, at the
Yeah,
end of the
they're
day,
players that people are at least excited about to be
yeah,
that 6 man.
yeah, I'm excited about. So we got Jalen Brunson, Emmanuel quickly coming back off of his 6 man of the year runner-up campaign. We're looking at Mitch Robinson coming back, Julius Randle. Julius Randle, people dogged on him. He had a bad playoffs, but he's an All NBA player from last year, and he's an All Star. And Jalen Brunson, who is looked at as the savior, and rightfully so, but he didn't get either of those accolades. So the fact that we have both of them, we brought in Josh Hart in a trade last year, who just changed the culture. He's one of those guys, Zach. We talk a lot about in football about locker room guys, about those dogs they'll go get the tough rebounds, they'll go hit the tough shot. I'll remember forever Josh Hart injuring himself, and then on an injured, I think it was like an ankle, he hit a game-winning 3 in the playoffs last year. Like, that's the kind of player that championship rosters build. You added in Dante DiVincenzo, who I really like a lot. Again, I don't think the Knicks did enough from a top end standpoint to compete with the Celtics and the Bucks and the Heat, but I do think they'll be there when the chips are down. And I think if they put themselves in a position to land one of those big names, and there's a lot of Embiid smoke right now, I think they'll compete eventually. But like you said about the Celtics, the Knicks, I don't think they'll, like you said a lot for the last few years of the Celtics, I don't think that they'll have enough, but I think eventually. And those 3 games, is there any other games on this slate? And I want a finals prediction, preseason finals prediction, MVP prediction, all that fun stuff. Are there any other games that you are looking forward to watching play out in the opening week?
I don't have any games specifically I'm looking for. I do have a couple player names that I'm excited to watch for the season, to kind of see how they look moving forward. Tyreek Maxey
Mm,
for
I like
the
that pick.
76ers.
Sleeper pick.
I'm excited to see how the season goes. He's been good. Philadelphia loves him. There's a lot of the James Harden, murkiness going on
Right.
around that. But the 76ers need someone else other than Joel Embiid. I think he'll be a great player to watch during the season. I would
Yeah.
like him to step up to more of the like all pro type level because I think that'd be great.
So great.
Let's see who else I got here. I'm pausing. Oh, one that I love personally, Marco Fultz. Magic gets
Nice.
zero screen time during the NBA season because they're
Yeah.
usually just god awful. Fultz was the number one overall pick in 2017 and had one of the craziest storylines of an NBA player I can remember
Worst
because he just
yips.
forgot how to shoot.
Worst yips of all time.
Just could not learn how to shoot, but quietly had a decent season for the Magic last year.
He's quietly
Has a
back. Yeah.
He's quietly back. So
100%.
for the first time, I think this year is the season that he could possibly put it together a little bit. So I'm kind of watching him for the season as well, just because there's a storyline I
I
loved
love
coming out
that.
of 2017.
Yeah, man, I love that. I love the redemption arc of Markel Fultz. I'll always remember the J. Cole line in that 21 Savage song where he's like, pray for Markel because they fucked up his shot. I love that line. That's such a great line. J. Cole, big J. Cole fans over here. Big J. Cole fans over here. Big cultured episode today. We're very cultured today. I love it. Yeah, I'll say the player I'm the most excited to watch. I'm picking the lowest hanging fruit on the damn tree, but I want to see Dame Lillard on a championship contender because people forget, Zach, he was dropping 40 a game before he went down last year. And he didn't, yes, he got hurt, right? He got hurt, but he didn't want to go out there on a 18-40 team. That's exaggerating, but he didn't want to go out there on a terrible team and risk injury when he knew this was his big year. This was his big chance to get out of Portland. And there's a lot of people taking shots at his loyalty. Zach, they weren't loyal to him. They didn't do him any favors whatsoever in the roster building. And at a certain point in time, when somebody shows you who they are, you got to believe them. And the Blazers said, we are not them. We are not contenders. We're not going to do it for you, Dame. And so I don't have anything, I don't take any issue, I don't take any exception to his loyalty or his desire to play for a contender at some point in his career. He's going to go down as one of the best players in this generation, and nobody's going to remember because he never made it past the first or second round. Like he was, so hopefully with Giannis and that Bucks team, yes, they're a bit depleted, but hopefully with that
A little,
squad,
yeah,
yeah, they're lower and in the we're talking about depth. They're a bit stretched,
on the
but
Suns' trajectory for
yeah,
sure.
a bit. But that's okay, dude. Teams win championships like that all the time. I can't wait to watch Dame Lillard play on I don't know, for lack of a better term, on a real team. I think that's
On
gonna
a
be
real
so
team
exciting.
with
Yeah,
real players.
yeah,
No, I mean obviously huge. Giannis signing his 3-year, $186
yeah.
million contract a couple days ago. They're in the Bucks organization is trying to win a championship, and it's good to see, because there was a little worry that they were going to be like, all right, we can't afford to pay Giannis, let's move on, that
We
type
got
of
our
thing after
ring.
this
Yeah,
season. No, they're all in, and
yeah.
honestly, I really love to see it.
Me
So
too.
I'm excited for that too.
100%. All right, before we wrap this up, before we wrap the NBA talk up, I want a finals prediction. I want an MVP prediction.
MVP prediction: I'm gonna go Giannis. Dame
Yeah,
on that team, I
good pick.
think can help him elevate his consistency and just give him opportunities to be an even better player, which would you'd think be the opposite, but I think Dame's gonna do what Dame did in Portland, score a ton of points.
Yeah,
But Giannis will have to still be the focal point of that team. I think they make a deep playoff run, like you said. I think he has a good shot to win MVP. Finals prediction. I mean, listen, the Nuggets are the same team they were last year. I think they're still a very good team, and they've lost some of their shine because they didn't make the moves other teams did. But I still think they belong in that conversation in the West.
100%. Yeah,
I would like to see them put it together, but man, that's a tough one. I want to go. haven't thought about this probably as much as you have, to be
Oh,
honest with
dude,
you.
mine's easy. No,
I
I'm just
don't
kidding.
think the Suns are going to make it to the finals.
It's hard to think that they will, man. It really is. It's hard to trust them.
It is. You know,
But this is a
KD
new
doesn't stay
team,
healthy
though. So,
either. It's a brand new team.
that's
Beal, how are they going to mesh? Who's going to take? Who's playing defense? Um,
book.
yeah, they got some questions on there. I probably want to go Celtics just because I do think they
Yeah,
got better
I think
and
that's
they were
perfectly
close last
reasonable.
year.
So you got
We're seeing
Cells
the
Nuggets.
end. Cells Nuggets will probably be my pick. It's what I want,
Who's winning?
so I feel partially biased
Yeah, you
there.
got both your favorite teams in there. I'm not mad at you. I'm not going to call
They're
you
both
out.
good. That's
They
all.
are.
I'm not used to that from
I
the
know.
Nuggets, so
I know.
that's tough. But I think there's a lot of teams that can give a good run for the money. I think we're seeing the end of an era in both the Lakers and the Warriors, so that's tough because I still think there's a lot of hope on both of those teams. But I don't think Chris Paul is doing it for the Warriors. I don't think they're a finals contender right now, even with Steph, Clay, Chris Paul, Draymond, all Wiggins there. Yeah, I want to go Celtics Nuggets. I think in that case, I still think the Nuggets might win that though.
Yeah, I love it, man. I got no issues with the pick. I think it's
Safe
hard not
ball though.
to it's hard not to pick Giannis for MVP. I am gonna differ because obviously Jalen Brunson. No, I'm kidding. Hey, I think he's a dark horse. I think he's got a shot if he plays how he played in the playoffs last year. I think personally my MVP pick is going to be Joel Embiid. I think we're going to see the ultimate fuck it, I'll do it myself season out of Joel Embiid. Haven't gotten him any help really. You love Maxi, he's good. Harden is will he be the Harden that we know him to be?
Is even going to be on the 76ers.
Will he yeah, he is just such a ridiculous NBA. Him and Kyrie are just like I'm sorry, all due respect to their talent. I think as far as how they run their careers, I think it's the ultimate clown show. My humble opinion. I don't. I'm all for power to the players, but I think they take it a bridge too far. They take all accountability out of their own, um, their own decision making and their own contracts that they sign and all that. But regardless, I think my MVP pick is gonna so Joel Embiid, and then I think the finals are gonna be. I do think the Celtics are gonna make it. I think the Celtics and the Bucks are gonna be the last two teams when the chips are down, and I'm gonna give the tiebreaker to the Celtics because of depth.
If they
Um,
weren't in the same, that's what I would say. If they weren't in the same conference, it would have
yeah,
been Celtics Bucks for me. But
it's
that's tough.
hard.
I do think it's going to come down to those two in the East.
And then I think, yeah, I think in the West, I mean, you got the really the Nuggets, the Suns, the Lakers. I don't think you can sleep on the Kings. They had a really rough playoff exit last year, but they had such a good regular season. Um, I can't pick the Kings because of what they showed in the playoffs last year. It's kind of like a Bills situation. I need to see it. I need to see them put together a string of good performances in the playoffs before I trust that they're ever going to make it to the finals. So I will go with uh I'll go with a dark horse. Not really. It's actually not a dark horse at all, but I'll go with a pick that's, been actually sweated on quite often in this episode, but I'm going to go with the Suns. Top end talent is just too great. I believe in Devin Booker too much. I really liked DeAndre Ayton, the player. I got a quick little DeAndre Ayton story. A couple years back, like I said, one of my best friends is a huge Suns fan. And his lovely girlfriend asked me, "Hey, what jersey should I get him for Christmas?" And I was like, "Oh, I mean, he loves DeAndre Ayton. Like DeAndre Ayton has been the reason why the ship got righted. You know, when they drafted DeAndre Ayton, he said Suns were going to win the 21 finals." And I was like, and then they almost did. He made that prediction, and then they almost did. They were 2 games short. And so I was like, get an Ayton jersey. And almost within 6 months, that storyline of Ayton just being lazy and Ayton not trying and being a liability, it just started emerging. And every single time the three of us were in a room together and Ayton came up, I just kind of clammed up. I just kind of went in my shell because I was like, he only has an Ayton jersey because of me. That was my call. And sometimes, I still like playing the odds. I like playing the classics. I went with the 101 center from who was supposed to save the team, and it didn't turn out that way. But friends, uh, as safe as you try to play it on the jersey front, you will be burned sometimes. Just know that. I
I have
got
a Kyrie Irving Celtics jersey sitting in my closet right now.
that might be the worst jersey to own.
I love
Um,
it. Listen, I know it's hitting on, but Kyrie's still one of my favorite players,
such a
and
good
I
player.
love that he was on the Celtics, man.
He's so
And
fun to
I
watch.
stand
Yeah.
by it.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go with Suns. They got Aiton out of there. He was turned into a bit of a cancer, a bit of a locker room clown. So I like Suns and Celtics, and I'll pick your Celtics to get back to glory. Again, don't tell the De Palmas, but I will pick your Celtics to get back to glory. I think Knicks are a year away. I believe that.
Yeah, you know my pick on the Knicks has always been that they're a player shy. Another All Star shy
I
of
agree.
a contending
Right
roster.
now, I do.
I don't think that Julius Randle is going to go back to that form of like a dominating All Star. I think he's still very good,
When you say that
but he
form of last year that he just was,
well the form last year was good, but that was not his peak. I think that
no,
was
but
what
he
2
was
years
all
ago.
NBA. He was all
Right,
NBA, and
right,
and
right.
and he was. I mean, yeah, no, his peak was 3 years ago. 2 years ago, he had a really bad year. Last year, he had a huge step forward back to being a top 15 player in the league. But in the playoffs, injuries, he was banged up. His ankle, he had two ankle turns in 3 weeks. So
Yeah.
he really was a shell of himself in the playoffs. So
What I'm saying is I don't think he can return to what he was 3 years ago, which was that like game breaking
he
dominant
was
type of
he was
player.
the guy on the team. Yeah, he probably won't be a 1B anymore.
No.
I think Brunson has to take the reins.
Yep. And I would have loved to see the Knicks go out and get somebody that was on that level of domineering.
Yeah.
And I think until that happens, they won't be a contender.
They've been so responsible with their assets. I'm not used to this as a Knicks fan. They've made smart, savvy trades and signings. They have a lot of draft picks. If they are trying to load up to go score an Embiid, they're not doing a bad job. This year, we'll see what happens. Brunson and Randall and Barrett and Hart and Grimes and Mitch, they got something. I don't think it's enough. As I said, I think you're right. I say a year away. You say a player away. We're basically saying the same thing. I don't think this is their year, but that's okay. I think they'll be outstanding. I think they'll be fun to watch.
Well, I think we've hit our limit on NBA talk for this show, considering there
Mhm.
hasn't even been a single game played yet.
Yeah, very fun to talk about. We've been so deep in football. I just wanted to remind everybody that it's coffee shop sports, um, except baseball.
It's true. Yeah.
Sorry.
I don't watch enough baseball to tell
Go
you anything
Phillies.
about it.
Go Rangers. I don't want the Astros to win. I
Go
hate them.
Dodgers.
They're cheaters.
We're in
Dodgers are
LA.
out. They're out.
We're in LA.
They're out.
Well, let's hop back to football talk to close out the show then,
Yes, sir.
because we got one last Halloween-ish themed segment, which is our little zombie double tap here. You're a Zombieland fan. You
Love that
know
movie. Love that movie.
They ain't dead till they're dead.
Nope.
You got, well, that's not what the segment is about. That was a bad preview. But we got a little double tap. Positional, 2 players. Going to give a big one and then one small player to finish it off that we think is going to have a better end of the season. I will start it off for you just to give a kind of intro to the segment. My first shot is going to be at the quarterback position, and that's Jared Goff of the Lions.
He
I
ain't
think
dead yet. Double tap.
No, and you know what? Goff has been great for fantasy purposes so far on the year, which, mind you, this is primarily what I'm talking about when I talk about the double tap segment is fantasy purposes. He's a QB7, dog, on the year. He's not being treated like that.
Yeah.
He's got Vegas this week at home. He's throwing for 2 touchdowns. Got a bye week after that. And then he has one of the easiest schedules for a quarterback. Chargers, Chicago, Green Bay, New Orleans, not so great. And then finishes off the season, Chicago, Denver, Minnesota. That is so juicy for a quarterback. One of the easiest strength of schedules for a quarterback. Change it to schedule adjusted, change it to points allowed. Doesn't matter. He's up there. And I think he is a great. That's been a rough year for quarterbacks in fantasy football. No one's been just crazy elite at the position. If you're looking for a quarterback to finish off the season, let's say you have Justin Fields. You're a little worried about the injuries, a little banged up there. Jared Goff may be your solution. And then if we're going to go a little dirtier, a little dirty dog action here on who could be a really good quarterback ending the season. I'm going with Russell Wilson.
Oof.
It sucks.
A
And
little too dirty for me.
and he's going to be dropped. That's what's going to happen, right? So he's got Kansas City, bye week, and then Buffalo. He's hitting the waivers after that. There is no way he's on
Yeah.
your team. But week 13, 14, 15, he's got Houston, Chargers, Detroit, probably all high-scoring games. You can throw him in your lineup, easy strength of schedule. They're going to be passing the ball a lot because they're not just going to beat those teams. Houston can put up points. Chargers can put up points. Detroit can put up points, unless you're the Ravens.
Yeah.
He may be a flyer candidate. He's also been decent this season for fantasy purposes.
Yeah.
He has not been just bottom of the barrel quarterback. He's sitting at QB 10 on the season. So it's not like he's unusable. In good matchups, he's been good.
Yeah.
So I think if you're looking for a quarterback at the end of the year who may be able to bring you some baller performances, Russ could be that guy.
Man, games that matter in fantasy football, trusting Russell Wilson is just, it's tough, man. It is very tough. But that being said, I like the pick, and I'm going to give you sort of a comparison, and I'll sort of introduce mine. So we are going position by position. We're doing 2 quarterbacks, 2 running backs, 2 receivers, 2 tight ends.
Yes, sir.
I love that. I love that. Because I had just 2 players. I was like, oh, it's going to be quick. We're in and out. I like this better. I'm talking.
We'll keep it moving, though.
I'm talking Zombieland. You think the dude's dead, you don't kill him, and then they come back and they eat you alive. I don't know if you guys remember that scene in the beginning when he's doing the rules. Such a great reference, Zach, and it's just not horror enough that I think you can stomach it. It's just not horror enough.
I love that movie.
There are some jump scares.
That's comedy enough. Yeah, I'm good with that though.
Okay, those kind. Okay, I love Zombieland. I'm glad we're doing this for my quarterback, and I'm gonna give you a 2-pack of ass. I'm gonna give you the Joe Budden joke of like where he says like, yeah, it's a 2-pack of ass. I'm looking at for the low hanging fruit. I want to start with one that I wasn't even going to bring up, but then you said Russell Wilson, and I thought, okay, we're that low. I can do this. I think if you start Russell Wilson in fantasy, you set and forget, and if you're watching the game, you're going to be stressed and you're going to be pissed, but then you might end up with a fine day. It's the same with Derek Carr, and you hate it. You absolutely despise it. Zach sends me 3 tweets a day about how bad Derek Carr is, and I know it, but I throw him in my lineup in Superflex. I forget he's there, and then I check my team, and I have 21 points. I'm like, cool. I have 21 points now. I didn't get that from Brian Hoyer. I didn't get that in a good game from Tyson Bagent. So, yeah, I'll take it from Derek Carr, even though he's booty. And I think the Saints have such a bad schedule that I think he'll still be okay for fantasy. I think he'll sniff QB 15 range, and I think that in a pinch, if you're streaming, you could do a lot worse. My other low-hanging fruit quarterback is Jordan Love. He also had an atrocious game against an atrocious team, and everybody's going to be out on him. Zach is shaking his head if you're not on YouTube. And it's fair. Yeah, holy crap, did he not pass the eye test? The Packers' offense looks broken. No Aaron Jones involvement. Christian Watson did absolutely nothing. So there's a lot of fears about Jordan Love. But look, he had an unbelievable stretch to start the year. He's got a nice little redemption schedule, I think. He started out QB3, QB16, QB6, QB12. One game as the QB24, a bye week. And then even in a game, Zach, where you're shaking your head and you're disgusted, which you should be because he played Denver, the team that gave up 70 points, he was still the QB12. A lot of people conflate real life football with fantasy football. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how it looks. It matters what their stats are. And Jordan Love's stats right now are that of a QB who is not bad for fantasy. In the next 5 games, I'm looking at Sleeper right now. I see a lot of green, Zach. I see 1 orange, but I see a lot of green. We have Minnesota, the Rams, the Steelers. I'd probably fade him in that game. And the Chargers and the Lions. Zach, Jordan Love.
Pass funnel teams.
He's a smash, and everybody
and then drop him right after that.
You do
drop him because you got Kansas City, Giants, Tampa Bay, 3 top 10 against quarterback teams.
Giants don't scare me.
Giants, they are 8th against quarterback for fantasy football purposes.
For some reason,
because they keep
sleeper,
the points
green.
down.
They're green.
They're not a good matchup. When it comes to schedule adjusted, they are a terrible matchup against quarterbacks.
Yeah, I mean, they looked pretty
They're
freaking good
allowing
against Josh
15
Allen.
points average per game against quarterbacks.
Yeah, Bobby Okereke is unbelievable. He is a special player in the middle. So those are my gross picks, and then my top flight pick. I'm gonna go with Geno Smith. I think Geno Smith will right the ship. He's been hurting us. I'm a Geno drafter, and he's been hurting us. And I don't think he's West Virginia Geno. I don't think he's Jets, Giants, wherever the hell else he went. I don't think he's that guy. I think he's a good quarterback. I believe in that. I believe he'll
I
be
do
okay.
too. Yeah, I mean, the top flight quarterback for me, if you're trying to go make a move for like a big name quarterback, it's Lamar Jackson. He's got the easiest schedule moving
Yeah.
forward. That offense is humming right now. He could be a league winner, as well as I do think Brock Purdy's schedule is crazy at the
Yeah.
second half of the season. But
Yeah.
let's move forward to running back. We're going to zip through the last couple double taps. For me, one star player, if you're going to go out and get, I think Austin Eckler, now's the time.
Nice.
He's coming off of a bad injury, 2 dumpy weeks. He was my first overall pick, and I don't really want him on my team right now. But you
A
got
lot of people are feeling that way.
you got to hold the bag
Yeah.
because Kansas City is a brutal matchup against running backs. No one can run the ball against them. Yes, Josh Kelly ripped off a long touchdown that hurt to see if you were an Eckler manager, but no one runs the ball against them. It's just the truth. So Eckler's been bad. You can probably go wrangle him away, but then you have a beautiful schedule, the easiest schedule for running backs, whether it be points allowed, schedule adjusted, however you want to pick it. The Chargers have the easiest. You got Chicago, bottom of the barrel. Jets, not good against the run. Detroit, really good against the run. But then after that, Green Bay, Baltimore, Denver, Vegas, Buffalo, Denver again, all bottom 10 against the run up on the schedule. He is set up to have a great end of the year. I think now may be the time to go out and get him, buy low. The manager is probably very frustrated if they have Austin Eckler, and they're probably losing. They're probably a bottom team, 2-4 or 2-5, you know. Whatever they are, go get Austin Eckler. I think he can have a really great end of the year. And then a little dirtier in the barrel, Cam Akers. After last night,
Yeah.
we saw a lot of Cam Akers involvement
Yeah.
against a decent run defense. San Francisco's good. I think he's got familiarity with that system. You've seen some kind of fatigue coming in Alexander Madison with the team, with the fantasy players. Like, he's not showing anything special. Cam looked like he had some burst. And more importantly for fantasy, he's got another cakewalk end of year schedule. Green Bay next week, great. Then you got 2 real rough ones from Atlanta and New Orleans. So maybe wait a couple weeks to go get him. But you can get him dirt cheap. If he does take over that role, he's got Denver, Chicago, Vegas, and then Green Bay again left on his schedule. All 4 of those matchups are bottom 3 against the run. If he does take over that, you could see some fantasy value maybe up to an RB2 level. A little dirty, but running backs are hard to come by.
Yeah, no, I think you nailed those, man. Honestly, those dudes ain't dead, man. They need a double tap. But they're not getting it because they're getting away and they're gonna win. I got a couple, man, and it's so gross. All these names are disgusting. I joke around a lot about bottom of the barrel, low hanging fruit, but I'm living in that world right now, man, and it feels good. I'm rolling around in the mud, and I ain't mad at it. Um, I'm just gonna list off some names because that's how many running backs I think that there are. I'll highlight a couple, but look, people are gonna be terrified of Aaron Jones after his utilization last week, and the injuries and all that. He is such a good player, and that team is desperate for a spark, and it's not coming in the shape of the wide receivers. So I think Aaron Jones is going to be, and we know AJ Dillon is who AJ Dillon is. I don't think he's a bad player. I think he's a bad fantasy player. He's a fine, battering ram. But I think Aaron Jones is gonna have, he's gonna right the ship eventually. I do all the matchups that I highlighted for Jordan Love. Same thing applies for Aaron Jones because he's such a good pass catching weapon. I'm gonna highlight a player from a team that I absolutely love. I've been insanely high on since before their draft, and then their draft just made me love them more. But Dameon Pierce is, Houston's running back, and you and I have talked a lot about Dameon Pierce, and the
Yeah,
discourse
because
surrounding
I'm
Dameon Pierce.
terrified of him.
You're scared shitless, but you also were excited too.
I
You
know.
know,
Have to hold. Have to
you have
hold.
to hold the bag. Dameon Pierce, we all like him for a reason. And yes, Devin Singletary's there. He's scary. He's not exactly a nobody, but he's also not exactly, he couldn't really even hold that job in Buffalo. Zach Moss was breathing down his neck. Frank Gore was breathing down his neck. Baby Cook was breathing down his neck. I like Devin Singletary more than anybody ever has liked Devin Singletary, and I'm not afraid of him to take the job from Dameon Pierce. So don't worry about that. And then I have one last name for you, and this one is really gross. Like, hold your breath. Again, don't check your lineups and don't look at metrics. This guy, metrics hate this guy, but I like Miles Sanders a lot. And I think he's talented. I don't know what this mainstream anti Miles Sanders narrative that's been emerging all year and in the draft season, really. But he's a talented running back. Yes, Philly's offensive line was great, and he was running through holes that a Mack truck could drive through. But he's in Carolina now, where it's dumpy. And like I said, with Green Bay, they need a spark. Adam Thielen can't do it himself. It's not fair. He's almost 40 years old. Give the guy a break. Miles Sanders needs to start getting involved more in the passing game. They know that. They paid him. The money is there. Follow the money is a great rule in fantasy football. So I like all those guys to have a little double tap resurgence in the second half of the season.
I don't mind the call, but I'm going to take the Chuba side. I think he's been the better
Everybody
runner
is.
on the year.
Yeah. Chuba is the hotness.
They have 3 cakewalk matchups coming up, and Sanders is still coming off the injury. But then after that, their schedule is just horrendous. Like, just the worst schedule for
Maybe
running
trade
backs.
him after those 3 weeks.
Trade him after those 3 weeks. That's what I'm saying. I'm like, pick your Carolina running back. If you've got Chuba, if you got Sanders, hold him for 3 weeks, and then just please
punt them off a bridge.
Punt him off a bridge.
Yeah.
Let's keep it moving here. Finish off. We'll go a little quicker on the wide receivers. Top of the barrel for me. I mean, it's a mix of talent and schedule. Brandon Ayuk is the one for me.
Yeah.
That I think
people need that right now.
He's coming off a disappointing game where they targeted him 5 times in the first half and then disappeared. I think they're better coaches than that. Let's get back to Brandon Ayuk, wide receiver 1, and he has just a beautiful schedule across. It's just green for miles around. You still have his bye week coming up, but literally almost every single one of his matchups is bottom 10 against wide receivers for the rest of the season. Debo's banged up. Kittle has a tendency to be banged up too. You saw him get hurt a couple times in the game, came back out, still had a good game. But I think Brandon Ayuk is a buy low. I think he can still finish as a top 12 wide receiver. So if you're buying any lower than that, good value there. And then a little lower on the barrel, but tailoring with your Green Bay Packers schedule, I think Jaden Reed is a sneaky buy low.
I like it.
You're probably getting him on waivers. Did you see his touchdown this week? The maybe the most wild touchdown of the week. Went a little under the radar.
I'm trying to think. What happened?
It was an end zone pass to a different player, and
yes,
it bounced off his hands and
yeah.
then just catches Jaden Reed in the end zone. Love that.
That was beautiful.
Watson's a little banged up right now. I don't know what his injury status is looking like, but Jaden Reed has stayed involved. He's taken over that slot role for that team. I think they get him more involved, and I think he could be a sneaky wide receiver 3. Pairing with that is Josh Downs. I think Josh Downs has shown that he's very, very talented. They have a real rough schedule in the next 4 weeks, but after that it clears up. He is just balling out. And more importantly, the Colts are running 1,000 plays a game. Like they run so fast. Their defense is pretty middling. You're going to get a lot of fantasy points off that. He's probably going to get 10 targets even without being targeted that much.
Yeah, and I love it. And this is as fast of a segue as I can, or as fast as a sidebar as I can do. Do you like Gardner for fantasy rest of the season?
I'm avoiding him for the next couple weeks just because you got New Orleans. That's a really good defense. Carolina just keeps the score kind of low. It'll be interesting to see how the pace of play comes out with that. And then New England again. So, and then a bye week. So you have a couple bad matchups, but then it clears up. I do think he's streamable in matchups. I'll play him against Tennessee. I'll play him against Pittsburgh, probably Cincinnati. But he's just a quarterback that I'm playing in the right matchup. Clearly, this week should have been a bad matchup for him, and he balled out. But I do still think I would play the matchup game with Gardner.
I love it, man. Okay, great stuff on your wide receiver double taps. Did you have another one?
No, go for it.
My high end wide receiver double tap is going to be T Higgins. And it's really just a confidence thing. Like I need it myself. So I'm sort of this is like my like I'm trying to be brave, like, for like, my scared, I'm at a horror movie and I'm terrified, but my girl needs me to be brave, so I'm trying to be brave. That's kind of where I'm at right now with T Higgins. I'm being brave for the fantasy community. I'm telling you, throw him back in your lineups, take a Tums and check your team after and hope that you're happy. I mean, a couple more bad games and I'm fading, but I don't think T Higgins is dead yet. And then lower hanging, I got two. I think Michael Pittman had a weird, inexplicable 2 target game, and he was a squeaky wheel. I'm not sure if you saw, but there was some talk about his lack of targets in his press conference. Good. Be a squeaky wheel. I think Gardner Minshew, yes, he's going to hyper target Josh Downs. That's very clear. But piggybacking, I think pace of play and just what we know to be true of Michael Pittman, I think he'll get hyper targeted. Those are my wide receivers. My second one, I do like JSN to have an emergent second half. Now that he's sort of established himself in the offense a little bit, if DK stays banged up, I don't think DK will miss a ton of time, but I like JSN after that little breakout. That's nice. That's promising.
Love to see it. And they do have, after a couple weeks, they have the fourth easiest schedule for wide receivers. So playoff wise, pick your Seahawks wide receiver, see who's healthy, go get them,
Love
play
Tyler
them.
Lockett. I love Tyler
Yeah,
Lockett.
no, it's a good way to do it. Let's swing over to tight ends real quick here.
Rapid fire.
Yeah, rapid fire on the tight ends. And this is where I said it was going to come up. I will let you have yours. I won't bring him up because I think
Go
I
ahead.
have an idea. No,
Go
no, no, no,
ahead.
no. I know who it
No,
is going to be for you.
do you
So I'll
want to
leave it.
bring him up? Would
No,
he
no,
be
no.
your
I'll
pick?
let you. He's in good question, but I'll let you have it.
Okay. All right.
My two picks coming into this show was Trey McBride, was someone I was keeping an eye on beforehand.
Nice.
Cardinals, they've been targeting the tight end. Zach Ertz had a good beginning of the year. Now, especially him going on IR this morning, but the last 2 weeks, McBride has outsnapped him. So you were seeing kind of the resurgence of McBride. The Cardinals, rough next 2 games against Baltimore and Cleveland, but then Atlanta, Houston, Rams, bottom of the barrel against tight ends. Kyler Murray could be coming back at the end of the year. That only boosts everybody. McBride's a talented player. We've seen flashes from him before. If he gets the targets, I think he can do stuff with it. And tight end landscape is absolutely horrible. So if
Yeah.
you need someone, he's got upside that other players don't have. And then my second one is going to be David Njoku. He's had a really disappointing season. You look through his matchups, he's actually played a lot of some of the best teams against tight end, and he's seeing huge utilization. He's on the field every play. He got the most targets of the Browns this last week against Indianapolis. Had a decent game, could have had it better, had 2 end zone targets. Sees Seattle and then Arizona, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, bad matchups for tight ends, but his end of season run against Denver, Rams, Chicago, Houston, Jets, Cincinnati, all of those are bottom 10. Most of them are bottom 4. He's getting the targets, he's getting the utilization. I think he could be a kind of a back end hero at the tight end position.
Yeah, I absolutely love that pick. And he was grading out as Pro Football Focus's like #1 tight end early in the season. Like,
He's had a great season. He's just not getting the touchdowns.
yeah, so I love that pick. Um, I wonder where I'm gonna go with this one.
I wonder.
Yeah, we have a wrist surgery on Dawson Knox, and we have a guy that was traded up in the first round to go get from the Buffalo Bills. That is obviously tight end Dalton Kincaid. He had his breakout game with Knox in the game. 8 for 75. Still hasn't gotten that elusive first touchdown. I think that's coming sooner than later. I might encourage you to throw a small amount of money down on Dalton Kincaid first touchdown parlay tomorrow night. I just kind of feel it in my bones a little bit. But he's obviously his utilization has been a bit baffling up until last week. His A dot was like 4 yards, and everybody was losing their minds, and it's fair. I was losing my mind too. But if he is tall Cole Beasley, if he is who Bills Mafia has dubbed him as Swole Beasley, then the Bills will be in good hands. And he clearly has the acumen to get open and catch the freaking ball. His target, dude, go look up his catch percentage. It's like I think he's caught like 25 of 27 targets or something stupid like that. he is insanely talented. He's every bit as good as advertised out of Utah, and I can't wait for the breakout.
And
Well, the
not to
further breakout.
mention, he plays Tampa Bay this coming week, who are dead last against tight. Like they are the best the worst matchup for tight ends in the NFL. Terrible. Bottom, like I'm sorry, like it's a bad matchup for Kincaid. Next week is a terrible matchup for Kincaid. They are the best against tight ends. No, sorry.
It's scary week. You scared me, dude.
Next week a little scary. After that, he has the easiest schedule for tight ends in the NFL. Bottom 10 every single week coming out. He should be the second target for Josh Allen moving forward.
I still think he's going to have a good game against Tampa.
That's tough. They are averaging 7 points allowed to the tight end position as a whole per game. So that's not even a touchdown. Yeah. You're barely getting a touchdown. They are great against tight ends. But a touchdown changes everything. So
yeah, and I think Kincaid is going to prove to be a matchup nightmare. Zach, this was an unbelievable episode, man. We did run long. We did cover a wide spread of topics. I could not be happier with our spooky season. I feel like there's some special bonus content coming around the bend for everybody who doesn't know. Our coffee reviews on Insta, TikTok, YouTube. It's going to be really fun, man. Are you ready for that?
I am not yet, but
You're not ready. Zach's not ready. I'm ready. I was born ready, but Zach's not ready. He will be, though. Look out for some really fun content from Zach and I this week. Great time in the coffee shop with you today, good sir.
Yep. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We will see you after Halloween next week, and enjoy your spooky season.